Prominent human rights lawyer Femi Falana has warned Nigerian political elites on the quality of governance delivery to Nigerians in the face of recent coup on the continent. And some reactions continue to trail. The interview with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, will be getting some of those tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's begin by letting you know the news coming from Lagos today. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, has directed all airlines to vacate the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos from October the 1st, 2023. He has also suspended the Nigeria Air Project, the nation's planned national carrier. The minister on his Twitter page, however, clarified to say no final decision has been taken on the issues of the airport's concession and national carrier. They are only suspended until all processes that are allegedly non-transparent and leading to those decisions are reviewed and all complaints are assessed for the benefit of Nigerians, and Mr. President is fully briefed. Mr. Keyamo gave the directive today during a tour of the airport, accompanied by Mr. Kabir Mohammed, the Managing Director of the Federal Airport Authority, FAAN. The minister says that the relocation from the international airport was necessary to give room for total maintenance work at the airport. Keyamo also directed the airlines and companies operating in the airport to move to the new terminal, the MMAI Terminal 2. Well, so much to talk about tonight, but there is a very strong warning coming. If you see what has happened in the recent days, especially when the coup d'etat happened in Gabon, we've seen reactions coming from the Rwandan president. We've seen reaction coming from other countries. They have made some strategic policies and decisions on the rank and file of military in their country. And now, human rights lawyer and some eminent Nigerians today were speaking in Abuja and have warned the political class, saying the root cause of major coups in Nigeria are due to poverty in the land and the quality of governance. Mr. Keyamo is therefore warning the political class to not aggravate any kind of unrest in the country. We'll be hearing that and getting some reaction from someone who has a very strong voice and knowledge about some of these issues and who also speaks through to power. We'll be hearing all of that, but also we'll be getting reactions to the interview we had with Mr. Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, yesterday. Before we get started with our conversations tonight, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The 2023 local government elections in Edo State will be taking place on Saturday, September the 2nd, in all the 192 wards. In spite of this voting exercise, the state government has announced that there will be no restriction of movement across the state. Speaking after a Security Council meeting at the Government House in Benin City, Governor Godwin Obaseki and the Edo State Police Commissioner assured residents that all necessary arrangements have been put in place to ensure a safe environment for the electorate during the polls.
From the level of mobilization we've seen across all the parties, I believe that there's quite a bit of sensitization and people will come out to vote. But my advice is that as people come out to vote, they should do so peacefully.
Ahead of the November 11 governorship election in Kogi State, the governorship candidate of the Accord Party, Vice Admiral Usman Jibrin, is promising to embark on massive provision of critical infrastructure and social amenities to boost human capacity development if voted as the governor of the state. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Accord Party candidate says the development of any nation depends on the youth, and it is therefore important to create an enabling environment for them to actualize their dreams through job creation.
I doubt if there is anything anybody can see in a concrete and in a tangible manner that there is good health, maintenance, in Kogi State, especially Kogi State, where I visited.
Some APC youth are asking President Bola Tinubu to appoint a young person as the Minister of Youth Development. At a press conference at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja, the youth say it is important for the president to appoint someone below the age of 50 as Minister of Youth Development. Also, another set of youth at the news conference at the headquarters of the party in Abuja urged the president to consider people like Shola Olofin and Nicholas Felix as the next Minister for Youth.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. So today, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, held a program where they say that the poor are being suffocated in the country and the rich is robbing the poor, and the poor is being robbed to pay the rich. Those are some of the statements that formed the part of the conversation at the symposium organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress, where Mr. Peter Ozoason, a former National General Secretary of the NLC, was the lead speaker, and the likes of Mr. Femi Falana, a human rights lawyer, Dr. Sam Amadi, and Dr. Tahiru Majid are also discussants at the event. Well, Mr. Femi Falana was very clear about what are the root causes of coups in Africa, and he's warned political elites and the political class in Nigeria not to take the Nigerian people for granted. Take a listen to some of what Mr. Falana said at that event.
Honorable Senator, please be careful. Discipline Senator, be careful. Don't provoke Nigerians to mutiny. Please. Because some of the things going on there, and we're in trouble. Sir, 70 billion naira for palliatives for 469 people. And when we say no, they say no. It's for facelift of the National Assembly. No, sir. 3 years ago, 37 billion naira was the amount for facelift of the National Assembly. That contract has not been fully executed. There is no review of the contract. So you can't talk of 70 billion naira for facelift. Secondly, 40 billion naira to buy exotic cars now for leadership of the National Assembly. It's not going to be allowed. The latest provocative news from the National Assembly is that 54 billion naira as the amount for constituency projects for 360 members of the House of Reps. It has come to 150 million per person. Under these austere conditions in camp. So when these figures are oozing out of the National Assembly, Nigerians are being provoked. And enemies of democracy are being provoked. The military have been honest to say we are under pressure. You didn't read it. To dismantle this rickety political system. But somebody told them go and deny it. And they denied. Oh, we are not under pressure. But we can read between the lines. So the immediate causes of coups in Africa today: third-hand syndrome, manipulation of constitution, military bases. You know, today, America has 29 military bases in Africa. France has 15. Soldiers are protesting because these foreign members of these foreign bases are receiving salaries as if they are in their country.
Just as the Nigerian president and his counterparts on the African continent are trying to wrap their heads around the coup in Niger Republic and how to resolve the impasse in that country, this has happened. Gabon is one of the oil-producing countries of the world. In fact, it's named as the 5th largest oil-producing countries in the world. And now that country, the military junta, has named a transitional president amongst the military boys who have taken over the realms of affairs in that country. Now, Part of the conversation by the NLC today in Abuja also included the kind of governance that we see here in Nigeria, this fuel subsidy regime, and the remover. I'd like you to listen to what the NLC leader, the president of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, said, and of course, a former general secretary of the NLC, Peter Oswelson.
That we have 133 million Nigerians that are multidimensionally poor before the subsidy removal. And after the subsidy removal, the number must have increased or doubled. Those are the fringes became poor overnight. But even if we were to take it without argument, and you multiply 5 billion by 36 states and Abuja, you get about 185 billion. If you divide it by 133 million people that are multidimensionally poor, you will get up to 1,500 naira.
I think that any government that did what the Tinubu government did to suddenly raise the price of fuel by such a tumultuous amount without a plan does not deserve to be called a government.
A very strong statement that were given out today at that NLC event. But now, one major issue that came out clearly is the spate of coups on the continent and the linkage to the level of poverty. Now, Nigeria has the most burden of poverty on the continent. And if this is happening, does it have any correlation to what is happening that we're seeing on the continent? Let's get some views now and some perspective from a very learned and very experienced person, Professor Khalifa Dukwa. He's the Dean of the Borno Elders Forum. He joins us live from our Borno studio in Maiduguri. Thank you so much, Prof, for talking to us tonight. The other day, we needed you to give your perspective on what is happening in Niger, and you were speaking about this and how far-reaching some of the consequences of the coup in Niger could be. Now, this has happened. Prof, give us an understanding. Are we...
Yes.
Could we see some stop, or kind of stop to these coups that is happening on the African continent? Or how can you describe the implication of the incessant coups that we're seeing?
Okay, thank you very much to everyone. Even at that time, I predicted that the coups in Francophone countries will never stop until the colonial power rescinds its own agreement of taking away their own resources, keeping them in French treasury by 85% or so, and giving them only 15% of their own money. Then if 15% is not enough, they'll go and borrow their own money to pay with interest. Meanwhile, the 85% of their own resources are being used in stock exchange, for instance. So what happened in Niger was also the same thing with all the countries colonized by France. The intervention of other European countries like United States of America, Britain, and Italy in particular, saying that we cannot, this death in the sea and so on will never stop until France stops doing the wrong thing. Because, listen, Gabon is a small country of 2.5 million. Small country, rich in oil and manganese, yet poverty is very, very deep. The people are there very poor, and that it is to them any coup now today, if Africans were good enough to step down based on the protests of civilians and so on, we wouldn't have had even military taking over, because the protests could have done the magic. But imagine personalizing the military, the police, and so on, sending them to kill protesters and so on. That was why the civilians themselves mostly invited the the military to take over. Why the military? Because they are cohesive, they have a good leadership, they are disciplined, and that is why they are invited. Otherwise, they themselves know that this is not time for the military, and the military should just subdue.
Yeah, Prof.
Let
me jump in quickly.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me jump in quickly.
Yes.
So if you look at what is happened in Gabon, there is a widespread protest in support of the coup scenario. In Niger Republic, similar thing is happening. You see what happened in Chad and some Burkina Faso. There seems to be popularity on the street of this country in support of the military takeover. What is the implication of these scenarios?
Yes, the scenario is that there were coups within the system, be it within ECOWAS or Central Africa. For instance, France, as it were, decided to look the other way when the young man took over from his father, who was killed, General Kaka Debi. The same thing they saw. President of Cameroon, Paul Biya, had been there since 1982, as if there is nobody else who could take over, who could do better as a young man, despite his old age and ailing health. He's still in charge with the child, his own child and wives and so on, doing it. Again, they watched Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, changing the constitution to run for the third, which is a coup, a constitutional coup. The same thing happened happening actually now in Senegal, with Macky Sall trying to do it, but he couldn't do it because he was paranoid, and that locking up the opposition leader like Ousmane Sonko will eventually bring something terrible during the election that is coming in February next year, 2024. And therefore, in Mali, again, Mali and Guinea-Bissau were the only two countries who rejected the so-called independence given by France in 1960. Why? France never thought of leaving anything. They are still paying royalties for hospitals, roads, and so on, built by France at that time, before the independence and after independence. And France, with the law, the agreement, charter, that is absolutely, you cannot even think about it, that no former colonial country of France has the right to even train his own military or paramilitary in other countries than France. They have to go to France, buy equipment from France, do everything, but consent of France must be sought. And therefore, the difference between Commonwealth, the English-speaking Portuguese company and French is the difference. That is why it is not affecting the other English-speaking countries. It is mainly for French, and therefore it will continue. We said it in the past that it is a wind of change. They call it for liberation. The target is to remove that charter that kept them enslaved throughout, and they have the resources, they cannot benefit from it. And Niger, for instance, has had the uranium that gives France over 40% of uranium to make electricity in France, including Paris. But over 80% of people of Niger do not have electricity. This is the irony. That's why they said whether it is a military or civilian, they want to get rid, to say enough. They are saying now. And the magic, or the magic is from the social media and liberal media and private media, not the mainstream media. And that Africans are able to talk to their own counterparts in Europe to tell them what they are doing, the foreign policies of their home countries in Africa. So they themselves, Europeans themselves and Americans, are also up fighting for Africa, that it is the best thing to do. And even any time I went there, let me learn, anywhere I went there, I taught the students This is what is happening in Africa by your own country. Anytime something changes, you are going to be humiliated as a country. And all these things will be, the cat will be out of the bag. Thanks. Yes.
Now, let's bring this conversation home. You've done a very fantastic job of giving us a very good background. You've given us what could be the implication, the scenarios playing out, the perspectives on how this is playing out on the continent. But let's bring it home. Mr. Falana, a lawyer, and who is warning that, look, political class in Nigeria should be warned. They should learn a lesson from what is happening. And now you can see some president, Rwandan president, for example, had rejigged the military architecture in his country. Perhaps that is linked or indirectly linked to what has happened in Niger and Gabon. One may not know, but it could be. Now, in Nigeria, is there any lesson, considering the poverty level? You've just mentioned Gabon. Of less than 3 million people, they have oil. They are one of the highest oil-producing countries in the world, yet they are very poor. About 40% of poverty rate in that country. Is there any major lesson for the political class in Nigeria?
Class and the political establishment itself that believes that it shall continue. No change is accepted in all these colonial power. The superiority mentality is the main problem of the developed countries. Particularly, the main ones are France, Britain, and America. And today, they are all competing for space in Africa, because Africa is the main hope, the direction of the entire world for the resources. The resources of the world are in Africa now, and it is time for Africa to not give them a blank check, whether it is China, Russia, America, Britain, and anyone. Never give them a blank check. We have to have our own. And when you talk of Africa, you cannot avoid Nigeria as a big country of 220 million, followed by Ethiopia. And it is not possible because all these countries around Nigeria are Anglophone, speaking French-speaking countries. And they have foreign troops there. What are they doing there? They are there because anytime any president, any leader disagrees with the French government over the sharing of the resources, even say by let us have 20 and you take 80, it is a coup. The Gabon one is also, they said, double-edged. Why? They said when Ali Bongo decided to bring his own kith and kin to be the head of the Republican soldiers, France was behind it. Why? Because Ali Bongo earlier said he was not comfortable with the continuation of the French policy, and he had also wanted to even join ECOWAS, and therefore we cannot continue. We said, look at countries like Kenya, Tanzania, and so on. Anytime they agree, they sign an agreement with China and other countries of the East. Those things are done by the letter. They are executed, nothing, no game. Whereas our own, they say friends, allies, and so on, and hardly do it, and they keep asking us to take loan by force and with throat-cutting interest. And therefore, the deceit, the treachery, and so on is now for the West to now compete with the East to do it that way, because Africa has an alternative. And look at Nigeria, has the capital resources. Everywhere you go, you meet a Nigerian. There is no way we are still talking about education, we are still talking about water, electricity, and so on, if not for the presence of the foot soldiers there sabotaging the fixing of our refineries to have oil, PMFs for us. They are sabotaging electricity. All of them, you don't see them, but they are the ones behind it. Look at, just check the history of Ajaokuta, for goodness sake. Almost completed, but it was pulled down because of foreign interests. And therefore, time has come now for Africans to be dogged, to be brave enough to say enough of this, because they have to come together and say enough of this. 54 countries without a single voice at the United Nations Security Council. 54, as if they don't matter. And the resources are there. They create insurgencies. And with the Niger now, for instance, I said, why is it that Niger people are saying the ambassador should quit, should go away, and the French president is saying he's not going, he doesn't recognize the military? What are they hiding? We know that wherever the troops are, they are also looking at something. The spying is part of their thing. Why they cannot go away? Because the interests are there, and that the French people see that a country like Nigeria is an existential threat. Nigeria will lead other African countries to free themselves. That is why, from Biafra to date, France has never been a friend of Nigeria. Yes, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you are to say something to the political class tonight, lesson from Gabon, from Niger, from Chad, especially from Gabon, there are those who say poverty and the reaction of the people of that country. How can a country be so rich yet so poor? What would you be saying to Nigeria? And there are those who will say, if Nigeria is one of the poverty capital of the world, that's a very big lesson, isn't it? And that the rich are living and the leaders are living in so much of wealth and affluence and opulence, but yet the majority of the Nigerian populace are in abject poverty. A direct irony to the wealth of the country, but the poor, I mean the people of the country, are poor. Is that a big lesson? What would you be telling the political class? Do they have anything to learn from this?
Thank you. They should learn. Look at the quotation from the Bible, for instance. For those who have shall more be given. Those who don't have, even the little they have will be taken away and added to those who have. Ask the political class, ask them, all these policies, be it IMF or World Bank, if the policies have ever worked in Africa, anywhere they could just tell you IMF conditions and advice has worked in Africa. They cannot answer. Secondly, these subsidies, they are on the Nigerian jugular or African jugular to remove subsidy. Subsidies are supposed to be increased, not to remove, because Europeans, are subsidizing those basic by 80%. At least 80%. They subsidize fuel for their vehicles, cooking gas, they subsidize it, education, they subsidize. Don't take America, for example, because America is a different, something entirely. They subsidize it because they are running away from the situation where they will tell them, now to step down, we don't want, and then the parliament will do the needful. In our own case, the presidency, for instance, from independence to date, most of them, politicians tend to personalize the judiciary. They play double standard, getting the senior advocates of Nigeria to go and play semantic gymnastics in the courts, shamelessly. Ideally, a lawyer is supposed to help the court to finish the case. So I'm telling the political class that the game is over because technology has made it very easy now to trace whatever they are hiding anywhere, and that Europeans as citizens themselves are communicating with Africans, and therefore they cannot continue to do it because the Freedom of Information Act is there for them to give, and tomorrow may not be themselves. And therefore, I'm telling them that let them not laugh at the Francophone countries close to us, even English-speaking countries and Portuguese-speaking countries. The scenario is almost the same, only that the military and the police and so on in the British, the Commonwealth, they are more disciplined and they don't take things easily. But the French side, they have it too much and they cannot no longer take it. It is too much for them, poverty, hunger, and so on. And if the same hunger that is right now, our people are dying on a daily basis, if this continues, then people are likely to get to the street. And whatever happens, it is their own making. Yes, Shehu.
Yeah, Prof, we need to go, and just 30 seconds, Prof. I just like you to drop your final thought on the program. And I am a child of the military era. I was born during the military era, and I know how difficult things could be. And I've seen the civil rule in this country, and I know that what democracy could give us as a people. But again, the big question is, are we getting what we deserve as a people? There is a new president, Bola Tinubu. If there is one thing that you think he can do to get the trust of Nigerians with the level of poverty that is in the land, compounded with the pressure of coup d'etat that we see around the continent, in 30 seconds, what would that team be, Prof?
I will tell Mr. President Tinubu that he has a VP who is very well read. He knows those things are there. And that subsidy for fuel must be returned, in fact, added to it. And education also must be subsidized. This is the only way to reverse this thing. Whatever it is being dictated by friends abroad and so on, including the voodoo professors, voodoo economists, misleading our own people to do the wrong thing, let them tell you where it works. Anywhere, whether they are doing the same thing in their home countries and so on, it is just the opposite. And therefore, don't take and swallow anything that is being dictated. Besides, I'm telling them that whatever politicians did in the past, the wrongs and so on, they shouldn't be intimidated. That happened in the past. They shouldn't be intimidated by their dossier, secret dossier, to tell them you either do this one or we are going to expose you, we are taking you to International Court of Justice, and so what? Let them face the issue of the people, and that they can bring in enough food for people to eat first. We have the resources to subsidize education, to subsidize plainly even anything that has to do with transportation, that is fuel, anything has to do with the cooking, that is what we call it, cooking oil, anything to do with health. We can subsidize health. The same thing would go for farming, for our own food security. And therefore, why is it that European countries are asking Africans not to produce enough food? As soon as President Buhari is out, they came back with the thing that, why is it that the case of Ukraine and Russia should bother us when we have the territory, we have the land mass, and we have enough rain to even do dry irrigation and so on to feed ourselves. It is not normal, and things are about to change, my dear politicians. And you said you are the child of a military. I was also part of the military, but I did not accept the fact that just to take instruction before you complain. I didn't like the situation where Oga will send me, the wife of Oga will send me to buy something from the chemist that has to do with my wives who will never do it. And secondly, my children, so many of my children were also in the military, including my biological ones and so on.
All right, Prof.
I support, I like the military, and I find it difficult to even swallow when somebody will just get out and denigrate our armed forces, our police, because of the fault of one or few people that are all over. Thank you, my dear Shehu.
Professor Dukwa, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight, and I appreciate the thoughts that you shared. Thank you so much. I know that you are multilingual. I was almost tempted to speak French to you this evening, but thank you so much, Professor Dukwa, for your time tonight. I appreciate it. The Dean of Borno Elders Forum, Professor Khalifa Dukwa, speaking with us from our Maiduguri studio. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, we'll be getting some robust reactions to Governor Nyesom Wike's interview with Channels Television yesterday. There are a few things that Governor Wike said, and that has gotten the PDP talking. We'll be getting some of these reactions after now. Join us again.
Edvest is solving a lot of problems for us. It is centralizing all the information.
Edvest has helped us concerning the preparation of results. Edvest has also helped us to have our database.
The fact that we can analyze data, so I know, children performance according to gender. I can access my financial information, who has paid, who hasn't paid.
I would recommend Edvest to schools, big or small schools.
Use Edvest today.
What are you waiting for? Use Edvest. Come on now.
Visit www.edvest.net/free demo to book a demo.
See trouble. So today, I said I should treat myself as salary just enter. I ordered my food and was looking forward to demolishing all the orishi.
Baby, for serving. Are they run?
Oh yeah, time to pay rich now.
Food where you never pay for.
Now here my card begin acting. Hey.
You know what?
You know what? Okay. After debiting me, it's like this one wants to find my trouble. See premium dragging. Oh, because this card did not work.
Save yourself the embarrassment. Get a card that works with MoneyPoint Personal Banking. Download the app, request for a card and have it delivered to you in 48 hours. Experience banking on point because your money no go hang.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
In today's world, our lifestyle, both at work and at play, depends on connectivity. Our connectivity depends on the devices that make it possible, and these devices depend on electric power. When power fails, our life shrinks, our work drops, and our joy dips. JRB Solar Energy Systems are here to ensure that we enjoy uninterruptible power, uninterruptible joy. Whether you're running a business, an institution, or just a home you return daily to rest, JRB has got you covered. No project is too big for our super digital inverters, long-lasting batteries, and efficient solar panels. Go. Dream on. Change your world. JRB Solar Inverters, batteries, solar panels, solar streetlights, and more. Telephone 0906 752 1111. Email sales@jrbsolar.com. With JRB, the sun's gonna shine on everything you do.
Enugu is ready and resolute for investments. Determined to grow Enugu State's GDP from $4.4 billion to $30 billion, the governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Dr. Peter Ndubi Simba, will host the Enugu State Investment and Economic Growth Stakeholders Roundtable to generate investment interest in the state's over 1.6 trillion naira, that is $2.1 billion infrastructure project pipeline. The theme is leveraging public-private partnerships. The roundtable discussion aims to uncover barriers to investment and economic growth in the state, improve investors' confidence, and identify partnership opportunities for the financing and delivery of critical infrastructure investment projects in the state. Date, Friday, September 1, 2023. Time, midday. Participation is strictly by invitation. Enugu is open for business. Signed, Aka Eze Aka, Honorable Commissioner for Information and Communication, Enugu State.
Are you passionate about changing your country for the better? Do you think you can make this change with a profitable business? Here's your chance to win a grant of 30 million naira, mentorship from an industry expert, and access to an exclusive network of business leaders. We are looking for ambitious, dedicated social entrepreneurs to take part in our exciting new business competition show, Fund It Forward. To apply, go to www.funditforward.tv. Fund It Forward, a Channels original series.
Glad indeed that you're still with us right here on the program, Politics Today, live on Channels Television. Let's get to our conversation. The next one is about our exclusive interview with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, who is the two-term governor of Rivers State. Now, some of the things that he said had gotten some politicians in Nigeria talking and their reactions to what he said. One of the statement that he made that particularly got people talking is this very one. Let me allow you to listen to it.
Who would discipline me? I should be the one calling for the discipline of these people who violated the party constitution.
What, in what way?
In the way that the party said there must be rotation. And you violated the constitution of the party. Who dares that person that will say, will you suspend? Who is that person? Who? I want to dare anybody. Who will say that?
That has gotten some people talking. Let's speak now with the spokesperson of Atiku PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Mr. Daniel Bwala, is also a lawyer. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Bwala, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
How does that interview come to you?
Well, he said a lot of things. The aspect of FCT being a state is an issue that needs clarification. The aspect of the demolition and what is actually the master plan, what structures are on the master plan is too. And of course, this one, the aspect of the party. Why we hardly react generally to what he said is because he loves drama. Everybody knows that, you know. And what he's saying, he's daring nobody can suspend him and the rest. Believe me, the quietness of the party is not weakness. For anybody listening tonight that sees what he's doing and then the party is quiet about it, it is not weakness. The party knows what it is doing. At the appropriate time, he will not only be suspended, he will be expelled. Take that one to the bag.
We will expel him. He says that he's gotten the he has said rightly that he's still a member of the PDP. Does that offend any wing or any persons in the PDP that is still a member of the PDP serving in an APC government?
In all political parties, I think even in APC and in the PDP, there's a provision in the party's constitution that says where you have taken steps that are completely antithetical to the party's constitution, you stand expelled. That one is even there, self-evident. Now, he is a member...
So he said in that interview that he wrote to the governor of his state and he's gotten the consent. He wrote to his ward, he's gotten the consent. He wrote to his local government, he got his consent. And he also wrote to the zonal leadership of the PDP, and he got a consent, and thereby that he should serve based on the invitation from President Tinubu.
He's a stakeholder of the party. If you look at the constitution of the party, even when he talks about the body that is empowered by law to conduct primaries, even in the states, it is the National Working Committee. All these places he said he wrote the letter to are people he controls. I mean, did you expect the chairman of his state, who didn't even work for us in the campaign, to say no to him or the governor or any other person? Let him tell the world he wrote to the national body and let him show the letter that the national body asked him to go ahead. Secondly, you see, there is nothing wrong in a member of PDP working with Tinubu's government as long as that decision is reached by the party. You know, the party can say, let us sit and constitute a government of national unity and work. The party hasn't done that and is not the national chairman, neither is he the chairman board of trustees. I think everybody knows that he practically manipulated a lot of people and then he had them walk in his path until he achieved what he has achieved, and they are now in the valley of decision and in the wilderness. Nobody has qualms about it. In fact, if you ask me, I see Wike as somebody who can do better as a minister of the Federal Republic because capacity Wike has it. And he has the potential to bring development. I think the problem is whether Wike wants to do that or not. Stemming from those things he told you about demolition, it is very interesting when they come and they say, and the idea is because when El-Rufai was made minister at the time, he went into this demolition. So each time you say minister of the FCT, the first thing that comes to the mind of the people is demolition. If FCT is not like Ministry of Works, it's an administration. There are very many important things than demolition that makes up administration of the FCT. Let us even start with the demolition. He said he wants to go back to the original master plan. If we may talk about the original master plan, let me tell you, Mr. Sheun, that the Aso Villa that seats the president, the seat of power, is not in the original master plan. It must go down. Because these were the things he was saying. If it is not in the master plan, it must go down. So Aso Villa must go down. Secondly, all the military barracks that you see within the FCT are not in the original master plan. In fact, the places where the military barracks are in the original plan, master plan, was supposed to be a Bosa and a central parks for recreational facilities. Then the military barracks must go down. Thirdly, the famous Asokoro you are hearing at the extension, where all the governors in Nigeria, if not most of them, have either the liaison office or their private homes. They are not in the original plan. They must go down. There are many federal government assets and buildings in strategic places that are not in the original master plan.
Do you have the master plan?
I don't, but it is of knowledge. I mean, this thing were discussed over and over. El-Rufai talked about it. Certain association of town planners in the FCT sat and talked about it. If you are coming to the FCT, to me, what should come to your mind? President Tinubu is making all the effort to tell Nigerians, look, I am responsible, I asked for the job. And he told his ministers, I will not hesitate to sack you, you must do the work. He wants to say, I am coming with the idea of peace to do good. I think that what Governor Wike is saying is antithetical to what he's saying. For example, Governor Wike quoted what President Tinubu said at the NBA. I want to ride in Abuja Rail. Did you hear says, I want to demolish people's building? And he talked about most of the buildings to be demolished are that of establishment and not that of the poor. Absurdity. The shanties he's talking about, the restaurants he's talking about, the parking garage that he's talking about. Who are the people operating there, Mr. Sheun? They are the same people that the policy of this government is trying to give life to them because they have been further thrown down into deeper poverty. Now, in advanced countries, what they do is they will come with a massive plan to create an alternative for the people, relocate them, and then demolish. You have to come with the mindset of building and not destroying. The scripture says, the dash cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. He said, but I have come so they might have life. My idea of government policy, if it is not people-oriented, if it is not with the mindset that the people should have their lives better. Mr. Sheun, you are in the FCT. The medical facilities and medical services within the FCT is awful. There's a lot to be done because the federal capital sits not only the cosmopolitan Nigeria, but it sits the embassies of foreign government within the FCT. Education in the FCT is so poor. There are no schools. People don't get value for the money within the FCT. Let's talk about transportation, Mr. Sheun. You see every part of this city in disarray. A minister who wants to work should come up with the mindset, I'm going to affect these areas. You should be thinking about transport system that will alleviate the poverty of the people. You should be talking about building mass. Do you know 62% of the estates built within the FCT are not in the original master plan? Those who live in this estate, majority of them are government workers. So if you truly want to restore original master plan, by tomorrow morning we should be seeing you demolishing the Aso Villa. Right. We should be seeing you demolishing the barracks.
So the Aso Villa is not on the master plan?
It's not in the master plan.
Okay, let me ask you. He has said that there are a lot of people who are built on the greens, on drainages, and on the pathway of ecological cycle of the FCT. And it says all of these things will not be tolerated. He spoke to me also about the plan to the buses, about 300 or so of them that are procured by the FCT, but they were nowhere to be found. And he has said that they must be brought out and they must work.
Right.
And that in the next few months, that those buses will work. He said in the next 1 year, the rail system in Abuja will work. Does it satisfy you in any way, considering the fact that he is of the opinion that when you are out to do good, criticisms will come?
Yes, but you see, he's mixing everything, Mr. Shaun. Look at it this way. Those things that will bring good to the people are in the long term, in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year. But the destruction of lives and property is in the immediate.
Okay, so
does this sound like somebody has good intention?
So can we wait? So those things that he has said are illegal. How do you hope that he could handle them?
So this is
if there are illegal erection of properties in areas where they are defacing the city based on the master plan. Abuja is a very young city.
Correct.
What would you have suggested that it does?
So this is what I would suggest, because they say the change starts with me. It's a cliche for Nigeria, and they say whatever you do, government should show leadership by force itself. It should start by them, because it's all about illegality. If Aso Villa is not built on, is not in the master plan, it is illegal. Why don't you prove to the world you mean well by destroying Aso Villa? But the reason why successive governments have not done that is because there are certain wrongs that have already been committed. They are thinking of how to redesign. When Buhari was in power, I remember that time FCDA was coming up with a proposal. The whole of that Lugbe that it goes down, all these places where you have the estates, they were going to destroy them. He said, when you do that, you throw families into problem. What do? We see how we can bring alternative for the good of the people. So you mentioned the initial ones about the sewage, about these places. I agree. They have to all go down. But to show good intention and that you are not coming with a vendetta spirit would actually a political opponent in mind. When you think of that, what are you supposed to do as a government that is people-oriented? Provide alternative.
Is the opposition thinking that there are possibility of a witch hunt?
No, not possibility. That is the mission. That is his mission. The core objective for his being in the FCT is to achieve three things. One, intimidate and impoverish the opponent. Harass the opponent. And you will see in the coming, you see this thing we're talking will look like what I'm saying is not true. All we need is to be patient and see the coming days. And then number two, to use the instrument of the, in this Machiavelli principles, where they talk about the fox and yes, it's something about stick and the fork, to use those reward system and bring people. They are all building towards a one-party state in Nigeria. All these African countries you are seeing this problem is because most of these leaders are running practically what looks like a one-party state. And Tinubu has not told Nigeria he wants to fight Nigeria. Every day he calls me to say he wants good. So why should people appoint it? Permit me, Mr. Shaun, in 1 minute to address this issue of FCT. Because people massage his ego by making him feel like he is the governor of the FCT. He is not. A minister of the FCT is a glorified commissioner constitutionally. That is why if FCT were to be a state, FCT will carry the characteristics, functionality, and the capacity of a state. So if FCT were to be a state, Council of State meeting, the minister will be like the governor. He will attend a National Economic Council meeting. The Constitution in Schedule 1, it states the names of the states of the federation and their local government. FCT is not there. FCT has one senator, and FCT is larger than Bayelsa. Bayelsa is 3 senators. Even those who wanted to go to court and argue in this election that FCT is 37 states have run foul of the law. Because the law is clear, the express mention of the one is the exclusion of the other. The section 279 that says, 290 that says for the purposes of this section, FCT will be treated as if it were a state. It's talking about administration. Even in that place, it says the president and the National Assembly are the one that administer FCT, not the minister and National Assembly. So FCT minister is a glorified commissioner. We have to put this in proper context so that he does not even, the first place he will have problem is even with Tinubu, his principal. Because right now, the way he's been carried and the way he's been lowered, as if we have 2 presidents in the FCT. And I don't have anything against it, like I said from the beginning. He has capacity among all the ministers of President Tinubu. To me, at the moment, Governor Wike has proven to be the most effective one. We have to give it to him. When you want to be objective, we have to be objective. But I said, Whether he wants to do good or he wants to do the other one, it's up to him. For now, what he's flying, the kite is flying, is that of terrorizing the city. Have you not looked about the child mortality within the FCT, mortality within the FCT? See the robbery because of poor transportation system. Fuel subsidy has just been removed, thereby making life excruciating and difficult for the people of the FCT.
Right. So one of the, on the final note, one of the things that he said, FCT was not captured in the palliatives that were being disbursed, the funds disbursed for the state. 5 billion are being earmarked, 2 billion disbursed already. And he said, as soon as he got into office, he went to the president to say, FCT is part of Nigeria, but FCT is not captured. And immediately the president has approved that 2 billion also should be given to the FCT. And he says in his own mind, he felt that FCT needs a proper transportation. About 70% of that will go to the FCT. As a final word from you tonight, you said he has capacity, but you think that the intentions might not be right. Yeah. But then, where do we go from here, from your own perspective?
So where we go from where is he should calm down. In life, you can achieve greatness by not fighting. Everything in life is not fighting. You see, when you are fighting, you are creating more problems. You need to, when you attain certain age, you should have good health, you should be happy, you should be peaceful with people. You can achieve that. Now, this money that are given to, so what is, Mr. Seun, with the greatest respect, the interview you had with him, has he given you a clearly defined agenda for transport system? He said there shall be in 9 months, everything in 9 months, but demolition now. Does it suggest somebody who comes to the people-oriented policy? Tinubu has said over and over, President Tinubu, he wants to run a people-oriented government. The danger, before you close, Mr. Seun, is that when you are a servant of the master and you create a problem, the impact will be on your master and not yourself. Tinubu needs to do more than enough to win the heart of Nigeria. You know where we're coming from this election. Yeah. You cannot do that by terrorizing the people in the FCT.
Daniel Bwala, interestingly, tonight I've had two very eminent sons of Borno State. Daniel Bwala is one of them. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight on the program. Reactions to Governor Wike's interview. It does look like he's not the only one that's been reacting. A lot of people are reacting. Those who are happy and those who are not. That's what you get when you're in public office. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. I'm Seun Okinbalo, and I'll see you again tomorrow, God willing. God bless Nigeria, everyone.
The Samsung Sims Anniversary